I decided to do a quick update video because I have changed some things and I know people are playing a similar build. If you're looking for gameplay showing this in maps or facing a boss, you can check out my previous videos showing that, but to be honest, this is the gameplay in a map. And sometimes you roll. Now, if you're facing a boss, how does it change? That's about the big change there. The Eye of Winter's a full wither stack. There's the curse. If I'm in somewhere that my gas clouds are exploding in a map, I'll throw in a contagion here or there to just spread things. Now, let's just go through the build, and I'll show you what's changed. Most of the changes are going to be in the actual skill tree. Items right now, we are using this scepter here. It's got a little bit of quality with the spirit. I bought this. It's got minion skills, max life, just some chaos damage, rarity, and resistances. We have here, we have chaos damage and evasion rating, little resistances. These are the key boots, of course. I could go for a level 19, but the amount of damage is barely anything, so I just haven't bothered. Has a nice corrupt for resistances. I went and got this belt. The big point of this belt and this build, honestly, the resistances I needed, but it's actually that corruption for the 23% increased maximum energy shield. That's a nice boost because we're using this unique as well, which means we can't get energy shield in our gloves. This allows an extra poison. I'm playing a Pathfinder, so that's +2 poison. I have this body here, which is just an energy shield base. It's whatever. Here I have just a whatever helmet. I have +2 minion skills being the main thing. And yes, it does have a spirit corrupt. I did that myself, just trying to upgrade this. I was actually hoping for +1 minion skill corrupt, but I got this. And this is going to be our amulet. It doesn't have spirit. It easily could. It does have extra energy shield. I have flashy deflection, which could be changed out for damage. And that's really about it. And then I have this shield here, which is mostly here for the stats and the resistances and the block. And it just does the things I need. Block is a nice little additional defensive layer. So what are we looking at here? Well, we have 1 life. We are Chaos Inoculation. And we have 7,000 energy shield, which is 14,000 almost constantly due to Grim Feast. Because every time one of these dies, there's a 50% chance. And every time an enemy dies, there's a 50% chance. There's our mana, our spirit. Our block is pretty good. Evasion is 50. Armor is 18. We have these 3 capped. We're over by 1. We're at 76 to 75. And then here, as you can see, we also have a little chaos that doesn't do anything at all. And basically, I don't think anything else here matters. But you can take a look here if you would like. Maybe there's something I missed mentioning. Now, with that being said, what are our skills? We are using Decompose. I have that linked with Corpse Conservation. The 25% chance to not be destroyed. This is really, really nice. I just really like it. You could technically, we're taking some on the tree. You could technically get rid of it if you wanted to. I like it. We have Deadly Poison, which is less damage with hits, which I don't think does anything to actually lower the amount of damage from our build. And then we have the magnitude of the poison. Extra damage as chaos, and sacrifice 10% of life on use. I don't know if it's a bug. What I can tell you is I've tested, and it doesn't kill me, as you saw me walking around. So, hey, there we go. We're using this for the extra chaos damage. And here, as you can see, targets can be afflicted by +1 poisons, and we get lower duration. Lower duration doesn't actually matter to us because our poison clouds will stack, especially on bosses where we need them. As long as the boss isn't igniting our poison clouds, which does happen, for like example, the Breach boss can do that, then it becomes a little more annoying. But if they are not igniting them, then our poison clouds will just keep 10 poisons up. Don't need the Skeletal Brute. That was just me messing with stuff. Contagion is linked with Hinder, which doesn't really matter. This isn't used. We have Sacrifice linked with absolutely nothing. We have Grim Feast linked with nothing. And we have a Skeletal Cleric. And as you can see here, it is not fully linked. And I don't think I need it to be fully linked to get full value out of it. Maybe I'm wrong. Here, you can see it is very high level. It is plus, what is that? Plus 13 from global modifiers. Plus 1 from corruption. That doesn't work. The corruption does not work, by the way. It will even go as far as to tell you the reservation is lower if that +1 from corruption would do it, and it doesn't work. Just it'll probably be fixed later, but it doesn't work. Well, it will be fixed later, but it doesn't work now. I have that mixed with Meat Shield for the extra life. We have Arcane Tempo, we have Ingenuity, and we have Minion Mastery. That's another level, and it's more life for the minions. The reason we have this, let's get into the actual thing here. So each one of these has 24,378 max life. That is what we are going to be using to convert into the clouds for poison damage. Yes, you can get higher numbers with the Skeletal Brutes, but there's no way to... If I had a way of making it so that they would always revive the Skeletal Brute and bring it back, I would probably do like one or two Skeletal Brutes and the less Clerics. But because these guys will bring each other back, if you do it at a good rate and you get enough Clerics, essentially this becomes a constant DPS amount. You can get 10 stacks up at all times on bosses, and it's phenomenal. As you can see here, they heal each other. We don't really care too much about this, but it exists, and we're just making it a little faster because we don't really want them doing this as much, and if it's done faster, it's over. And then we also have Revive a Fallen Skeleton, cast time, cast per second, and cooldown. We're lowering the cooldown, we're making it faster, so they bring each other back. Here we have Despair. Despair is our curse. It is linked with Heightened Curse, and Eye of Winter is linked with Withering Touch, Unleash, and Persistence. Now, the reason we can use Withering Touch is we are getting Chaos on the tree. I'll show you that now. Technically, you could also get this with Ming's Heart Ring, anything that gives you extra damage as Chaos. So, let's take a look at the actual tree. So, as you can see, people complained in previous videos that I didn't bother to do my 4th Ascendancy. I'm going to explain shortly why I didn't do it. It barely matters. This does let you use your Eye of Winter and your Despair slightly faster while moving, but it barely matters. The big reason I hadn't done it was because I'm using 10% movement speed boots, and the last time I did an actual trial, I didn't get a single movement speed boon, and I ended up failing. And the reason I hadn't done the ultimatum was because I kept crashing. I ended up realizing that I was crashing on the ultimatum whenever my boots would explode the... I don't know a better way to describe it. The Triceratops boss, the mob, whatever. Whenever the Triceratops, the big ones, would run into field and they would be exploded before their corpse had fully hit the ground, I would crash, and that makes you have to restart the ultimatum. After that, I've been running ultimatums constantly, actually, for money, and for fun, so I do have this point now. It was no problem at all in this build. We have Traveler's Wisdom, just because we want the extra passives. Technically, you could go up here instead of this and go with Poison Concoction. I want less buttons. That's why I play the build. Increased magnitude of poison. We have the most damaging poison spreads, magnitude, and then we go up here for double. Again, this duration doesn't really matter much because we are using clouds to keep it going. I path through the evasion, and this is not saying this is the best. Obviously, like, this is kind of dumb. Right? This feels really dumb. This should actually be the magnitude. It's somewhere over here for ailments, but this is just right now defensive. It's what I'm doing. It's really, really cheap, so I'm just throwing that on because I'm using a shield. I go down here and I pick up magnitude, and this is skill effect duration, so it's all my skill effects and poison. Again, this isn't really super needed, but I have a point. I leveled up a few times, so I just grabbed it back. I actually got rid of this for a while. Poison duration, and then here's +1 poison, and as you can see, I don't go for the duration or the poison on hit. I then path up here, and I grab magnitude, and this is magnitude and maim on hit, doesn't really matter. I move up this way, and I go over here and take this hybrid, and as you can see here, and definitely you could probably do there's probably a world where it's actually better to get a different helmet, and go here for the subterfuge mask. I have the helmet I have. This is better. I actually tested speccing into both. This is just better for me. So this gives me increased evasion rating of energy shield if restarted. That doesn't do really anything for us because we overleech. And then we have 30% evasion rating while you have energy shield, which is, we have it or we're dead, right? We move up here. And if I go to the left fork here, I go down and grab some max energy shield big node here. I don't take this here, but I take this. I go up. I don't take this chaos, but I go up here, and I take max life for minions. I don't take a lot of max life in this. You probably could do better. min-maxing this. This is just what I've been doing. This is a wasted node, but it allows you to get increased movement speed, attack, and cast speed. And I will argue that I think this is required. The reason I think it's required is we don't have Convocation. Without this movement speed, your minions fall way too far behind. It feels bad. I have done hundreds of maps. It feels terrible until you get this. You want this so bad. I go up here. I believe this doesn't actually do anything. The actual increased damage if you consumed a corpse. I don't believe it does anything. I don't have a good way to test, very simply because we consume a corpse to use our skill. And then I have chance not to, and chance not to destroy. Again, as I said, this is on the tree. This leaves it at a base rate of 50% chance not to destroy. Well, we have 50% chance to not destroy along with that gem we're using. So this just makes it easier to keep our clerics up. Big mobs on the map you kill, great. I go over here and I grab this jewel slocket here. As you can see here, it's an emerald, and it has magnitude of ailments you inflict and magnitude of poison. Both of those work. So this is 26% increased magnitude. So just think about that. If we go down to here, this is 25% increase for this big node, and I have more than that on a single jewel socket. So again, you could definitely do some crazy min-maxing here. So we go up to here, and I have another one. This one is 1415. And let's go down this way. We have Chaos Inoculation, which makes us immune to Chaos. That means we're not going to get any sort of poison. We're not going to get Chaos. And of course, with being CI, just Energy Shield, we're not getting bled either. So that's just really nice. A big change here is I do go into the increased effective Wither. I didn't have enough points for that because I hadn't redone my tree in previous videos. I wrap around all this, mostly to get this here. This sets off our Eye of Winter. Of course, all of this actually helps our build, but I did this when I did the respec into this purely for the Eye of Winter because it's just so much better to apply Wither, that quality of life for me. That's why I did it. Here I have another magnitude of ailments, increased poison. It's only an 18%er. This can easily be upgraded. I just haven't bothered. And we go down here and we have magnitude of poison, magnitude. And here we have duration. I might as well pick it up since I'm pathing. We're going to be poisoned constantly, so this is basically 100% duration. Duration, chance to hit, and then we have +1. So again, I mean, we really don't need all this duration. If there was a way, I mean, technically, I guess you could probably go into greed, isolation, and if you did that, I think it's not too bad to actually spec out of all of this and have all these free points. Maybe that's what I should do if this build isn't nerfed into oblivion. Right now, I'm kind of not wanting to spend currency until we see what they do. We go up to here, and this is going to look so weird, but we path up here. I go up here and grab this. I go here, grab this. I path down, and I go over here. I want the energy shield. This is just too good not to get. I'm already right there. This was like the last point I filled in. I believe this is the last point I filled in, purely just because I went up a level. Here is the pricey part of the build. I don't know how much this is right now. I paid like 8 divines. It's a +3 level of all skeletal cleric skills. If you're running brutes for like bosses or anything like that, you would want to preferably swap this. But the last I looked, it was like 50 divines for a brute. So this was like 8. I don't know what the prices are now, but this is a significant amount of life for our skeletal clerics. But to be clear, I did all the content without this first. It just feels really good. I go over here. We go up here just for all this energy shield. I go over here, and there's another node here where I have magnitude of poison, magnitude of ailments, 29%. Pretty good. I don't even have it evolved. Then we also go down here. And when we go down here, I go over and grab this here. It's just minion life, and then minion life. It's something. And then I go over to here, and we have cannot be hindered with a lower magnitude, but I wanted the cannot be hindered. It also has a 2% increased movement speed, which of course you would want on all of these if you were min-maxing. And then I go down here and I grab energy shield. I don't know how good this really is. It depends on your helmet, right? And then I go over here and grab this, and there's a 40%er. And these I had done before, but with my respecs, I got rid of them. And that is kind of where the build is. It is pretty tanky. 14k ES. We keep it up a lot. Even with bosses, we keep it up because our minions are dying. I'm kind of hoping that if they nerf Grim Feast, that if they're going to nerf it, that they nerf it for the percent chance from like enemies instead of minions, because that would barely affect us. But if they're going to nerf it, they'll probably nerf it in the ground. They'll probably nerf ES into the ground. And then I don't know what we do with the build. Maybe you'd have to try to go evasion for it. I don't know. If you did have to switch to evasion, there's a lot more like evasion clusters and things, and you could easily go into more block. There's a lot of stuff. Like, there's a lot of block and evasion around here you could do if you had to change things up. But we do want, at the very least, we're gonna want this for the extra chaos. We probably wouldn't want chaos. We wouldn't want chaos inoculation if we're not going ES. So you'd probably be able to swap a lot of this stuff out. Maybe you'd path down this way, and then you could. I got rid of. I also used to get this, and I just don't, because by getting rid of this, I was able to fit in another jewel, which was like a high % of poison. Basically, I felt that it was worth it getting rid of this extra here, just to have more life with the ES and I could get some magnitude back with a jewel. Basically, I mean, at the end of the day, the oh god, where's that? Right here. This 2% life on killing a poison enemy never did anything to me, so yeah, that's the build. It's very simple, as I said. The little text you might want to know is if you roll, it doesn't kill them. If for any reason you do want to nuke all your mobs, your minions, what you can do is hold the direct button. While you're directing them, they won't heal or revive, so you can nuke them if you need to nuke them like that for whatever reason. It's also good to know about that in case they get stuck and you're trying to get them out of a corridor. Technically, you could try to direct them in front of you. If it's not working, you could step a few times. It might pop the one that's blocking it. But yeah, hopefully this helps you out if you're wanting to try out this build. The key components, of course, are going to be these boots. The problem with these boots, the problem with Decompose, I think, is when you read it, because it has such high scaling of corpse life, the issue is that a lot of chaos builds are just chucking this on. And a lot of builds that are doing like leveling through the campaign are chucking these on just because it's so much extra damage that they don't have to worry about. It's just there. And that's why some people think it's going to get nerfed. Which would be a shame. It would be a shame. And there's not like much more ways we can make it better, because of the way PoE 2 is currently made, you cannot actually take a skill from an item and get a fifth socket on it. So we're already like limited in what we can do, and that's why it being a little extra powerful is so nice. And of course, if they lower the corpse life damage, like maybe in the idealized scenario, if they nerf this a little bit, but then they gave us the ability to like automatically target our, like have a minion targeted for healing or targeted for sacrifice or targeted like priority. If we had a way to prioritize a skeletal brute, theoretically you could do something like, and this is just hypotheticals in the future, you could do something like this and have 10 clerics and like 1 brute, maybe 2 brutes that are targeted, maybe it'd be a gem. And then you could have them revived by your clerics so that you could get bigger damage. Because brutes, if you take a look, 21,000, and this here is 24. If I add this in and add this in, 35. So it's a much higher number, and that's why people are using these brutes for things like Detonate Dead. But if you take a look at Detonate Dead, it's using a lower percentage of max life. So because we're using a higher percentage, we can get away with using clerics, which also revive and heal each other. And the only real issue you have, in my opinion, is Burning Ground. Burning Ground is a huge problem. If they were to change the way the clouds work, the poison clouds, so that ignites from burning ground on the map or from mobs would not actually ignite it. If you had to use your own ignite, that would change a lot. That would make this build way, way better. But that's currently not the case. So hopefully that just gives you an update, an idea of what we're doing. And I mean, right now I think I was running like late at night, so I spec'd out of it, but I've been running breaches like this, and the reason it was spec'd out is I was tired and I was running the breach boss and I didn't want to die. Doesn't really matter, to be honest, at this point, between doing the plus, what is that, 3 and the plus 4, but I've completed the plus 4 multiple times. Have yet to find a single expedition boss, and I've tried every logbook I've found. I tried the Arbiter once, and he did the whole entire screen as burning ground, so I didn't phase him at that point, which kind of sucked. And then I went into the circle to survive, and it was my first time facing him, and I just knew that mechanic. I hadn't watched any fights, and he had a second circle, and it was just physically too far away for me to reach, I think. Maybe I just didn't react in time, but I lost that one. I haven't gone back, and that's why I haven't done any of the Arbiter stuff. I sell my Simulacrum Splinters because they're worth money, but I do like running Ultimatum. And I can't. I really, really want to do the Ritual Boss because I have this increased chance of audience with a king and chance of omens. But it's hard to justify with the cost of this. If GGG comes in and like increases the drop rate of omens, the audience with a king, and makes it a lot more accessible, I would probably have, filled out this as well. It's so much money to even face this boss. Now, I would assume best case scenario, of course, on this build is still going to be like an Ingenuity belt. That's just how that is, right? What was nice is, since we're running ES, if you had a decently rolled one corrupted and it happens to hit that max energy shield, it feels real nice too. Or even if it's a lower roll, I mean, I don't really need anything on this that I can't get from a ring, and then the Ingenuity would boost my chaos damage. Both of these rings could theoretically be replaced also with a good breach ring. That would just be better. You would get higher percent chaos damage off of them, preferably. So, just that exists. This obviously should have Spirit for an upgrade. This, I would prefer it to have +1 minion skills in the actual corruption. I think you can get +1 all skills in a corruption on amulets. Those are so expensive if they don't redo the cost of the tree, because everything half good costs the most expensive. Emotions, and I don't know the prices right now. I'll check real quick. Let's just do Exalted. Top Exalted to Delirium. Yeah, so that's an insane price. I mean, like 2 of these plus another one to be able to get this, right? So, like, I'm not doing that unless I'm never, ever changing my amulet again, which is why I'm not against it. I'm really not against it, and I've had enough dibs at certain points to do that. I just gamble my dibs on random stuff. I've had enough to do that, but I just can't justify it until I see what the patch is when they come back and, what should be changed. I will say things like +1 level of chaos skills is kind of a trap, and the reason it's a trap is because you only go up 0.5% of corpse's max life per level, and because you do that, it is really bad. It is really bad. I guess one way they could nerf these boots to make it so that you'd want the better ones would be to start at a lower percentage and make each level of the skill itself actually do a higher increase to corpse max life. They could do that, and that would basically force you to buy the level 19 decompose boots, and would make them weaker if you would just want to slap them on every build. But another thing is, like, I have mentioned it, you do have 10% movement speed. People running chaos builds that are just happening to run these boots, they're getting around it with that, like, Queen of the Forest chest that we are not running, obviously. If we have to go evasion, I mean, instead of ES, that kind of, we could run that. The problem is, if you run much faster than what I run right now, your minions will actually fall behind, because there's only a single source of minion movement speed on the entire tree, and there's nothing on that. I don't think there's anything on items, and because they fall behind, they now disappear because we don't have convocation. It's just kind of, I know I'm rambling, but the build is literally up in the air. GGG either kills it, or they do a slight nerf and they fix other things or improve other things and it makes the build more viable. I think they're going to kill it. I think they're going to kill it inadvertently because they're going to be trying to kill its use on every single Chaos build that can fit it in. That's my opinion. I think it's going to get nerfed into the ground, so that's why I'm doing the final video, and I had nothing planned out, and I'm just showing what I have, what I'm doing, because I don't think it'll live.